are the digital head at Hansa Cequity, and
right.
one of the things which I actually found out when I was reading this, that Hansa is investing on data scientists.
Right.
Right. This is something which I'm very interested,
Right.
because I feel at my end is that this is the medium that has given marketers the power for the first time to understand personal behavior and
Right.
data. So would you like to explore or share more
Yeah.
what's going on in that
Yeah.
data scientist
Yeah.
part? Yeah, please.
So basically, I think about 2 weeks ago, we were doing a very big pitch and we were sort of collating the amount of data that resides in our servers. We have about 30 clients, some of the biggest names in this country. And we realized that we have something like 72 million customers in our databases for different clients. So I don't know how many companies in this country have that kind of volume of data lying with them. So the fact that we can actually unleash a sort of a tsunami of a campaign just by reaching out to people in those databases. So there is contactability, email, SMS, social data that's coming in. So when you have that kind of data, then the important thing is for us to be able to set it up in a way that that data starts to make create value for customers. So today there's a sort of a budget or something like that. There's a key day in the life of a brand, and at that point they want to unleash a big campaign. They want to do a one-to-one targeting and things like that. So you need specialists who are able to kind of segment that database, break it up, understand patterns and behaviors, and bring in new data sources. So this whole conversation around big data, how do you bring all of that into a big data center, massage the data so that you are able to then unleash the power of the insights that come out of it, and run campaigns at scale. So you need specialists for that, and once upon a time they were called analysts or statisticians. Today there are fancy new names that people attach to these kind of professions, and data scientist is a funky sounding sort of name, and many people in our office are called data scientists, and it's a big team of about 40 people who sit down and sort of work with data all the time, day in and day out. They understand data. They are able to sort of help clients. And so many of the guys here possibly know more about a client's data than the clients themselves, and that is the sort of power that a company like Hansa Cequity brings to the market.
Moving to my next question, it's first half of 2014. You must have done some interesting work. I know that you guys have done some interesting work.
Right.
Any one campaign that has just sticked out of it, and you think that has been a special one? Why also, if you want to share?
So I think there are lots of interesting stuff that is happening. One is this whole integration of social media data into fusing that and kind of working around it. So a lot of people tell us, or we keep reading all the time, in on blogs and other places, about how Facebook's organic reach is dying and things like that. So for us, actually, we don't look at it that way. We look at it as possibly the world's most exciting one-to-one medium that is there. The amount of profiling that is possible on Facebook. So the opportunity. So if you have data, then you can push that data back into Facebook and do some wonderful work. And for many clients, we are doing some really cutting edge work in terms of trying to kind of fuse transactional data which lies outside in on POS platforms and on banking systems, push it back into Facebook and do highly targeted work at people, and we are seeing some wonderful results coming out of that, because we have the insights about people and their sort of behaviors from outside the digital networks like Facebook and Twitter. And if we can push that information back into those platforms and now overlay that knowledge with other stuff that Facebook, the filters that Facebook provides, then you suddenly create a combination which is like an incredibly sort of powerful place where you can reach out to individuals and target them. So this whole hype around Facebook and large fan communities that brands went out to build is kind of diminishing today because of the fact that nobody knows what value is coming out of it. But if you come to a place like Cequity, you will start to realize that those networks suddenly have the power to kind of combine traditional offline data with the data that lies on these social networks, and suddenly magic starts to happen, and we see some wonderful synergies that are beginning to happen there.
Any examples that you would like to share?
So for instance, for a retail brand, people who stopped coming to the brand. So they have these loyalty programs running, and people, who stop, drop out of a loyalty program. Now there's no way to reach them, because the mandate is that if once they kind of, you sign them out of a, or they lapse out of a loyalty program, you can't contact them again. So what do you do? So you kind of engage with them in social, and then track them back into the store. So if you have a combination of both, the opportunity to target people one-to-one on social, and then the ability to track back people on pause. So have they come back? So you've done a campaign at them on Facebook, then you can track back by saying that did they come and sort of make a purchase by giving their mobile number or email ID, saying that, hey, I used to be a member of this loyalty program. Then suddenly the power is multiplied, and we are seeing, like, for one of our clients, we spent, for every 1 rupee that we spent on this campaign, we got 43 bucks back as ROI. So the possibility of actually showing the power of social, people kind of write it off saying that isme kya dhanda aata hai. This is the dhanda that comes out. If you have customer knowledge, if you have that, you fuse it back into these networks, and then you can unleash some wonderful, wonderful, sort of opportunities there.
The other part is that I have seen personally brands and agencies. There are a lot of brands and agencies who, one, are focusing on content,
Right.
and second, are building digital properties.
Right.
I would love to know thoughts on both of these, with examples from Hansa, how they are doing it.
Yeah, so content can be many forms. When you hear the word content, you suddenly start to think of video, you start to think of, editorial content, you think of pictures. I mean, to me, a lot of the content is also, say, for instance, email, which is to say that or a landing page is content. You create hundreds and thousands, and depending on what brand you are. And when there is a customer in need, or when there is a person looking out for something, if you can dynamically throw that at that person, then that becomes useful for that person. Because I'm searching for a car insurance agent, so I don't want to be taken to a car insurance site. I'm looking for an agent. Can the insurance company then have dynamic content which says, hey, you're looking for an agent, then I don't want to show you my website, but I want to take you to a page about agents. So that's content to me. So, or some of the interesting work that we do with banks. So if which is really a highly automated, triggered kind of communication that happens, which is to say, you walk into Hong Kong and swipe the bank's card, and suddenly the bank knows that, hey, this guy is in Hong Kong, but he's not taken foreign exchange from us, which is an opportunity to educate that person about foreign exchange. So can I then, sort of throw a bunch of pieces of content at him, saying that how it is so easy, and the value of actually having taken, sort of foreign exchange from this specific bank. And that is all, done without any human intervention. It's not so much that, somebody's sitting there and checking, hey, who's this guy now, gone out and things like that. But it's automated. There is computer systems that we've set up for these brands, and content is kind of readily available. So hundreds and thousands of pieces of content which are like set up in the system, and depending on a behavioral trigger or a purchase trigger, you kind of throw this content at people, and people are more than willing to receive these pieces of communication. So we see high email open rates, high interactions on SMSs, which typically people would think that they are all, sort of intrusive media. But the fact that when it comes in a context that I'm stranded somewhere, I'm in need of help, and here is a brand that is doing that to me, so that then all these things become highly useful.
Brands are now looking for building digital properties rather than being dependent on social networks. What was your thought on that?
Yeah, I think like for a brand of a French retailer, what we've gone out and done is we've created a mobile app, which is an app by itself, but it's got hugely, sort of value that we've built into it using social media. So for every, sort of action that you do in social media, you get reward points, and those reward points can be used like currency, just like how you would traditionally use the transaction points. So you go and shop for something, and you shop for 1,000 rupees and you get 10 points. Here, if you do a social action, you get 20 points, and those 20 points plus the 10 points become very valuable. So yes, I think building independent property is important, but without integrating them with social media, then suddenly the impact of that sort of gets diminished, and and independent properties don't get that kind of traction unless it's a banking site, or there is a huge need for me to go and transact on that site or value the sort of content on that site. Unless we do that, these things are nice to do, but you don't get much traction in terms of people actually visiting and participating in those sites.